Is it possible to have integrity without good communication? I say no. What do you say? I believe integrity drives the need and the necessity for good communication. So I don't think it's possible to have integrity and be lacking in the communication department. Integrity demands, it drives the need for good communication. So that's the premise I'm working off of in our conversation today. But let's talk a little bit about integrity, define it just a wee bit. Again, I don't tire of talking of this theme because I find it so fundamental. I find it so integral in our, the necessity for it in our cultural context, especially in a day when I believe there are so many opportunities for us to walk with integrity that we don't take. And I was there once upon a time. I was there where I lived without taking the option of integrity, and the consequences have been expensive. The consequences have been devastating by way of loss. And so there are some lessons that we come along with that we experience in life where we say, I'm not interested in learning this again. I don't want to learn this again. And so how can I learn it the first time so that I don't have to experience it again? Let's talk a little bit about what integrity is. Integrity fundamentally is the quality that includes honesty. It includes morality and ethical behavior. It's a personal trait. I believe it's a personal trait reflecting our commitment to our values and our principles that we hold dear. And I think we all have those. I think we all have those values that we say, this is how the world makes sense to me, and here's how I think we should operate. But so many of us, in the midst of having those perspectives, those values, those beliefs, those convictions, we don't follow through for a variety of reasons, from fear of how we'll be perceived to lack of confidence internally, to actually follow through on what our morals and ideals lead us to. It requires integrity requires us to be transparent and genuine in our interactions with others, and that's the critical part. Is how do you not only hold your values and convictions, but how do you actually live them out, and how do you communicate them, and how do you do that honestly and openly, transparently with those that you're in community with? This is a challenging prospect, and one that I don't think we were necessarily taught when we were younger, and yet it's so critical, so critical. So that's what I think integrity is at the heart of it. This quality that includes honesty, morality, and your ethical behavior, and being able to communicate those consistently to those around you. It's a personal thing that reflects what you really believe, really. Effective communication is essential, I would say, to pursuing integrity for the following reasons. Number one, this is a powerful one. Listen up. It is the medium. Good communication is the medium through which we convey our thoughts, our ideas, our feelings to others. There is no way possible for others to be able to know exactly what's in your mind unless you give it to them. Unless we're willing to communicate using words to describe what we're thinking and what we're feeling, it is near to impossible that we can have others understand where we're at. So it's the medium. Good communication is the medium by which we're able to convey our thoughts and ideas and feelings to others. Without good communication, we can't express ourselves, which of course is going to lead to confusion, misunderstandings, and conflict, and a whole whack of unpleasant experiences. Communication is integral to building trust and credibility with others, and therefore it's really essential to integrity. If integrity is living consistently with our values and beliefs in the way that we think and actually do them, it's also really important that we learn how to talk about it and communicate it in the ways that are accessible so that others can understand what we're about. And that builds trust over time as we pursue being consistent in our expression of integrity. Here's some key characteristics of integrity, especially as it relates to good communication. So one of them is that it propels us towards honesty and transparency. This is conveyed in being straightforward in our conversations with others. When we commit to walking with integrity, honesty becomes a really big deal. It becomes a really big deal. But not only honesty, there's also that other element of being transparent as well, saying, here is me showing my cards. Most of us in life have grown up with this self-preservation tactic where we hold our cards to ourselves. We're not willing to show what our intentions are because of a variety of reasons again. And I think the leading one of those reasons being the fear of, oh, I'm not sure what this person's intentions are. And so I'm going to keep my cards to myself. This isn't transparent. This isn't being open. Integrity, however, compels us to be transparent and willing to be open to saying, here's what I am about. Here's what my intentions are. Here's me showing my cards so you can understand what I'm trying to do here. And this is driven especially because you are operating from an internal moral framework that you subscribe to, that you want others to be aware of so that they understand how to interact with you and how that can go well. So when we are straightforward in our communication with others by pursuing honesty and transparency, we demonstrate our commitment to our values and principles. At the very heart of it, it's very much our integrity. We are displaying and modeling what our integrity looks like in the way we communicate openly and honestly and transparently with others. It shows furthermore that we respect another person's rights to knowing the truth, especially when there may be consequences that aren't favorable for you. When we commit to honest communication, when we are willing to show our cards, when we're willing to say, here's what I think, what I'm thinking, here's what I'm believing, here's how I'm operating, when we make those commitments, then we're in essence giving this individual the courtesy of saying, I believe you have the right to access what the truth is, according to where I'm coming from. So key component of integrity is that we commit to good communication, if anything, because we are on this threshold that integrity demands from us, and that's honesty and transparency in the way that we communicate and interact with others. And there and again, we're giving them this courtesy that says, hey, I'm not going to make you fight for this. I'm actually going to give this to you as a gift so that you know where I'm at. Another critical aspect of integrity is, as we've covered in the past, accountability, or taking responsibility for one's actions. We display accountability well only when we practice good communication. Have you considered that the very act of taking accountability for one's actions necessitates communication, and not only just communication, but good communication? Here's what happens when you're taking accountability for your actions. You're taking ownership of those decisions that you've made, those contributions you've had along the way, and you're acknowledging where mistakes have been made. You're acknowledging, saying, hey, this is what happened and here's what went wrong. You see how that employs communication? You're owning it. You're saying, I'm the one who's responsible for this. That's good communication. It's very clear that says, I'm the one who's taking responsibility. I'm taking accountability for this. Here's where the mistakes were made, as I've been aware of them. Again, that requires good communication. And then it also further goes, or takes us a little further, and not only are we able to not acknowledge our mistakes, but we also want to convey that we want to make amends. We want to make things right. And that requires even more communication that is on the descriptive side. This is good communication when you're able to walk along that trajectory that says, hey, I'm taking ownership for this. I did this. I was mistaken when I did X, Y, and Z here. And now I also want to make this right. So here's what I'm going to do by doing A, B, and C. All this involves communication that another didn't have access to until we mediated that information from our mind, our hearts, our feelings, to say, I'm going to let you know what's going to happen here. And you proceed to communicate those really well. Good communication is essential to expressing remorse. When it comes time to apologize and seek forgiveness, good communication requires that we say, hey, I acknowledge I did this. That was wrong. I am sorry for doing this. Would you please forgive me? Like, that is some fine communication on display right there. It's not ambiguous, it's very particular, it's very specific, but you're walking through this process and you're practicing good communication that enables another person to have access to your intentions. Again, you're showing a card and saying, here's me letting you know so you don't have to guess. Here's me going through this vantage point to make this connection with you, and that's through this medium of words expressed and actions rendered. Integrity is undermined when we don't communicate our willingness to take accountability. If we're serious about pursuing integrity in our lives, then it's necessary, it's integral that we commit to also taking accountability and communicating that really well. Another component that's required with integrity is that we treat others with respect and with dignity. We treat others with respect and dignity. This means that we're acknowledging their existence, we're acknowledging our engagement with them and what that looks like and how we can move forward with that. It entails that we listen to their perspectives carefully and give them our time, give them our presence, give them our attentiveness. And as we're listening to their perspectives, we're acknowledging their feelings, saying, how did that make you feel when you experienced what you're sharing with me? I can see like that may not have felt good, or, oh, that must have been exciting, or however they're expressing. And not only do we acknowledge their feelings, but we also want to value their contribution, saying, hey, I want to say thank you for actually sharing this with me. That was really meaningful for me to be on the receiving end of hearing how you took that. This is all part of good communication. Do you see how like it flows? So integrity requires that we treat others with a high level of respectfulness, with dignity, with acknowledgement, because that's what people really want at the very heart of it. That's what we want, isn't it? To be seen, to be heard, to know that someone understands our experiences and what we may be going through. That's a powerful thing. Integrity also requires us to be consistent in our behaviors and actions. I've said consistency for some time now is a huge deal for those who are pursuing integrity. In fact, the key thing I said between good quality integrity and bad quality integrity is not the absence of bad integrity and bad quality integrity. I think there's integrity in there. The real key difference is the consistency. Bad quality integrity is not consistent at all. It's just it kind of comes around once in a while and says, I guess I'll try it today. Well, it's still there, but it's not really compelling. Good quality integrity is compelling because it is consistent in its commitments to following through on the way we behave and act and believe. Consistency entails that words and deeds that we profess and do align with the values and principles that we espouse. It's really essential for good communication that we communicate these values and these principles clearly and consistently. So some people have the perspective where they say, oh, I don't have to say anything. People are going to know what my values are because of the way I live. I can see their perspective, but I don't find that as compelling. I think it's really important that we spell things out explicitly by way of saying, hey, I don't think it's right to do X, Y, and Z, so I'm not going to do them. And then you follow through and do them. Not only are you enforcing your actions and your words by the way you're doing it, but you're also showing and reinforcing the values that you just espoused, which is powerful, especially when there's consistency in that. This avoids sending mixed messages, which further undermines integrity, and it fosters trust and credibility on such a massive scale when you're able to do this. And finally, I would say integrity really drives the necessity the need for good communication. If I haven't made this case already with the examples and the reasons that we've just talked about here, oh man, we might be speaking different languages or coming from different cultural backgrounds, but I argue integrity drives, it longs for the necessity for good communication. It is not possible to have integrity if one is lacking in good communication. This integrity drives us to hone our communication skills and to ensure that they are increasing and getting to be a far better quality. So no, I don't think it's possible for us to have integrity without good communication. Good communication demonstrates honesty, in the way that we're able to express ourselves clearly and transparently. Good communication requires accountability from us, where we're willing to take ownership for our actions, but we're also willing to communicate saying, I'm taking responsibility for this. I am stepping up to the plate here. Good communication necessitates respectfulness in the way that we engage with others, whereby we are granting them dignity in the way that we communicate with them. And we do that by communicating effectively, transparently, openly, but we are doing that respectfully too. And of course, I don't think I'll ever stop beating this drum here. Consistency is a really big deal in transparency. In the pursuit of transparency, consistency is key. This is where it gives us an opportunity and others an opportunity to see how we're aligning with our words and deeds and our values and convictions. So important. So this whole conversation would not have happened without communication, without me enunciating and articulating and clarifying and describing and painting a picture for you. This would not have happened unless I was willing to communicate. You would not have had any access to what was in my mind if I didn't communicate this with you, if I didn't type it out for you, if I didn't convey and say, here's what I mean, here's what I don't mean. And good communication is a skill that we pursue over a lifetime because we want to learn how to be concise. We want to learn how to be precise. We want to learn how to be specific in the way that we're describing what we're feeling and what we're not feeling, what we want to do and what we don't want to do. All this entails communicating. And it isn't fair. It isn't correct. And I was just telling this to someone recently where they expressed some grievances to me. Actually, they didn't even express their grievances. We had a mediator sit between us, and I was just telling this example the other day, how this mediator was able to help us come to the awareness that this individual had certain expectations and levels of what they thought I should know that they never communicated. And so I told this individual, I don't think it was fair for you to expect me to know the things that are in your mind without you actually communicating them. That isn't fair. I can't guess that. I only know what's in my mind. You only know what's in your mind. And until we're willing to actually communicate through our words and our actions what we are feeling and believing and what we're asking for and so on, unless we're willing to commit to good communication, we're kind of ducks sitting in the water, growing in frustration and miscommunication and misunderstanding and a whole whack of unpleasant experiences, like I said before. So commitment to good communication is a critical, non-negotiable inclusion in our pursuit of integrity. Super important. I love these reflections. I love thinking through and sharing with you these insights that I've had in relation to integrity. When I base my focal point on talking about integrity, it's not to say that I'm an expert at it. I'm not perfect at it. It's something that really matters to me. It's something that's really important for me. And I talk about this because I've lived a lifetime without experiencing the full flavor of what integrity offers one. And it took me decades to learn and come to this place in my life where I say, it's a lesson I don't want to learn again. I don't want to learn the pain through the painful experience, what living without integrity looks like. I don't want to experience any more loss. I don't want to cause any more hurt. There's been enough of that in my life. And so now it's a non-negotiable for me. It's something I want to commit myself to. And the more I talk about it, the more I know I'm locking myself into it. And so I share these reflections with you. I share these conversations with you to inspire you towards moving towards integrity in your life. Are you at a point in your life where you're reaching the maximum of saying, I don't want to experience this chaos in my life, this mess, because I'm not living with integrity? May I encourage you saying that there is hope. There is hope for you to shift the course that you're on towards something different and beautiful. And I would love to walk alongside you. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe, join me, walk with me, share with me. I would love to see a community that grows, that is committed to walking with integrity and inspiring each other to do more. So thank you for listening to this video. If you haven't already done so, I'd love for you to subscribe and join. And I will keep on coming back to talk about this and continue to compel you to join me in this beautiful walk in life. I'll see you in the next video.